Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My name is
Wa
Omar
alaikum
Rashid.
assalam wa rahmatullah.
My name is Omar Rashid, and we're here today with the latest episode of RizqMDJD. I have my co-host, Dr. Ramy Nasr, and our esteemed guest back for part 2, Ustaz Almir Colan. Assalamu alaikum, Ustaz.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Ustaz Almir is joining us from the land down under, the land of kangaroos and box jellyfish. And last time we spoke about, we had a very interesting conversation, very intriguing. And we started with his journey into finance and where it intersects with Islamic ethics. And I think, you can go back to the podcast episode and see what we spoke about without us doing
And a full introduction.
doing a summary here.
Yeah.
Ustaz Almir, I just wanted to, I think the last thing we were talking about, you had gotten into wealth and it being a means versus an end, and you also focused on, I believe, the idea that what a lot of people, especially young people nowadays, are chasing wealth to live a certain lifestyle, and how this doesn't bring fulfillment, and where do we draw the line at contentment?
Thank you very much for inviting me again. What do you think, like, let's say from your perspective, when you are thinking about what is happening with the current mindset, or currently how we look at what does it mean to have wealth, or what does it mean to be successful? What do you think is currently, let's say, in the generation of the young people in their 20s or 30s, what do you think is the success or wealth? What does that mean for them?
I think the goalposts are always moving from generation to generation, from year to year, and it seems like with every new trend, now you've set a different standard for what constitutes success. And with social media and being able to have trends really circulate very quickly, it seems like the definition changes from day to day. But if I had to give you a broad definition, it would, this is not our definition of success, but what I think the average person nowadays thinks is, having a lot of money, being able to spend it without feeling any kind of constraint, traveling, sharing it on social media, doing all of the Instagram posts to share that, and going out to eat. What do you think is?
So I was smirking when you were saying this, because when you're saying how the goalpost changes, I remember this YouTube clip I saw, and it talks about the difference between like a millionaire and a billionaire, and it shows like a boat, and it shows a yacht, and then it shows the billionaire yacht, which like you can fit like 5 of the millionaire yachts. And so as wealth has increased, I think overall in the world, that goalpost is infinite, and that's, I think, the sunnah of life, right? Like you're never going to get to the point where like, alhamdulillah, I have enough. You're always going to want more. But I think, just to add one more thing, I think it's about having money, having financial independence, but it's almost like in not having to work for it or not having to do much. I think that's the unique thing I've seen in the past maybe 5 or so years, is kind of like the get rich quick schemes. But that used to be like a older person thing. It was like, we're going to invest in some Ponzi scheme. We don't know it's a Ponzi scheme, but like, you give me this, I'll give you 30% returns or whatever. Now it's kind of like, I'm just going to start a channel. I'm just going to be an influencer. I'm just going to invest in this. I'm going to, or Shark Tank, I'm going to come up with an idea. And next thing you know, I'm going to be a billionaire and I don't have to work anymore and I don't have to do anything. And then you have these people, they sell these courses. They're like, my wife and I, we used to do the 9 to 5. We do this. And look at us now. And they show you all these trips that are going on and they don't have to do anything, whatever. And that becomes, they're selling the lifestyle. So I think that's kind of like where the goalposts right now is. It's not even a specific dollar amount. It's selling you a lifestyle of you have money and you don't have to do anything to continue to get that money, which subhanAllah I think is very kind of counter to how normally the sunnah is. You have to work for something, and man jadda wajad, you work hard and you get, inshallah.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, both of you are describing a problem from the two perspectives. Like what the first point was, I think, is just what are the current aspirations of young people? And those are to be able to afford the lifestyle, to pay the bill. For example, let's say a young man in their early 20s, he's thinking to get married, afford the house, maybe go for holiday, pay meher, all of these. So considering where the young people are in their life, what are their hurdles in front of them, that's perfectly legitimate idea that, I just need to settle, I need to marry, maybe I'm just finishing the school and I need to get into the job market.
Okay, Ustaz, so we were talking about the definition of success, and me and Ramy gave our partial definition of it, and you were going on as to.
So it is understandable then when we think about young people and what they are getting into after the school, education, not much experience in life, and the big decisions are coming, which is which way to go in terms of the career, personal life, professional life. So it is normal that we are looking at some sort of a certainty. And one of the big uncertainties of life is having the wealth, having the means to take care of your primary wants and needs. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to how we do it, as another point was raised, oftentimes, if you have nothing that you have built up from the skill, let's say in terms of education or something specific that you can contribute that can turn into career, mm-hmm. it becomes very tempting then to turn to quick solutions. And this is where it comes to a lack of sometimes options or lack of discipline or a lack of imagination what that career path should and could be. And so it is normal, once I was discussing with some young children, and I gave an example of when you are young, if somebody offer you a chocolate and a diamond, the child will take what they perceive at that moment to be more important, more valuable. They will not see a longer term or bigger picture. And so that diamond versus chocolate, it goes always. So for example, in my life now, with my first grandchild and kids being married and different kind of stage of life, different kind of experience, different priorities in life, it would be too much for me to assume that my children or students or younger people will have the same ideas that I have. But in all of this, what is important to emphasize is that in life, there are means and there are ends. Confusing these can lead to certain problems. And so often when people talk about very simple idea, I want to have money, what they are talking about is that they want certain ends. They want to have a stable life. They want to be able to afford private school, let's say, for their children, that's often Islamic school, let's say, in a certain neighborhood, in a certain community. And that comes with a premium. So what they're talking about often is a certain lifestyle that they want to afford. And what they are communicating is, I just want to X amount of dollars salary, for example, whatever that is. Now, identifying this difference between that money is the means to something else could potentially have consequences later on if this is not clear. If only thing that we are focusing is means. For example, our worldview become money-centric, and only thing that we are thinking about and obsessing and prioritizing is the money. In that case, what could start happening is that our outcomes or our ends could start shifting. And so you might then chase a career, do certain critical mistakes, where you live, what sort of jobs you take, in order to get to the means. So the means can turn into the ends after a while. So you're chasing just that money as fast as I can. I want to get to $100,000. I want to get to the $500,000. I want to get to the million. And so the number just keep growing and changing. And so you are not anymore concerning yourself, what is the bigger picture that I want? And so this is something I think it's worth discussing and clarifying when it comes to that topic.
Definitely. It does make you like want to stop and pause and kind of be retrospective or reflective on what are your goals, because a lot of times our goals do end up becoming the means and not the end itself. Like, okay, so when I have this, what am I trying to achieve with it? I don't want money for the sake of money. I want money because money can fulfill X, Y, Z, or I have these needs, or I want to accomplish this. And I think that's definitely a challenge, to keep your eye on the ball and realize that money is nothing but a means to reaching these goals. It is not the goal in and of itself.
Yeah, and the way I would think about is when we talk about money, let's say you have a son, and you asking, my son, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up or in your next phase of life? And if they just tell you, Dad, I want to be rich, what would you think?
So I can kind of tell you my honest response, which I've had with my child. I tell him, I think it was probably 3 things I told him. Number 1, I said, no matter what, the job has to be halal. Number 2, it has to be something that makes a positive impact in society. And number 3, I do tell him this. I said, it needs to be something that is financially rewarding or provides you with strong stable income. Because, you know, I have this mantra that I always say here. It says, especially as we live in the West, cash is king. If you don't have lots of financial liquidity or financial strength, haram becomes very, very, it's a slippery slope. There's not a lot of backup options. And that's not, I'm not even talking about like the luxuries. I'm talking about just the bare necessities. So I tell them, those are kind of my 3 things. Is you want something that's halal, you want something that makes a positive impact. So to me, not to put anything negative to anyone, but like I don't see great value in my child running after a ball for $1 million. It just doesn't, like, what are you contributing to society? What have you improved? Now, to go back to what you're saying, subhanAllah, maybe, you know, if my child is born, he is like, has the most amazing soccer skills in the world, and he becomes like the next Ronaldo or whatever. I'm okay if he understands that his goal in life isn't to play soccer and his goal in life is to get money. But if he understands the longer goal that, hey, listen, if I can do this and I'm going to use these funds to build this, to develop this, whatever, down the line, you're still going to get an education, that's a discussion to be had. But having said that, I think it has to be financially, like it puts him in a financial, it's something that makes good money, so in a financial strategic position, but also something that's halal and something that makes a positive impact in society.
So you are adopting a typical dad, the most stereotypical type of a father approach to the thing, which is very protective, jumping to the conclusion immediately, and making sure that the conclusions are proper. Like, this is not the job, it has to be halal, it has to be make sure, this, right? Yeah. What you are jumping over, all of the reasoning that goes into it, right? You are immediately taking all of your entire life experience and knowledge, and you're just pouring it into the, and trying like to chisel immediately.
That's exactly my thought. Yeah. I have these years. Let me cut to the chase. Let me give you.
That's right. Yeah. Without and so the human beings are not like machines. There are no these switches. They are not made from the stone that you need to now shape up, and extract the shape out of it. I guess where you are going with that, and that's one of those conversations, is that they need to internalize this, and we need to have the conversation. Is what does that even mean when the child goes? Let's say the boy is 15 or 17 or something like that, and he says, "I want to be rich." Beside the obvious things, like, let's say, in a bit ridiculous way, let's take this "I want to be rich" to the most extreme version, fantasy land of the child. Right? He's a 15-year-old, go to high school.
Yeah.
So the high school he goes, he's now rich. Unlimited amount of money. What does that mean? He goes to the school, he pays the teacher to get the good grades. He pays the people to be friends. He has a personal chef who cooks for him. He want to play with other kids, he play another player to play the game for him. Right? And everything in life he does, he just pays. He buys. Right? That's the ultimate extreme version of "I just want to have money." Right? Mm-hmm. So in that world, you are like, think about the world is like a kitchen where you now have access to all kinds of food. And all you are thinking is, I can now afford everything. Everything is at my disposal. So now being rich means I can now consume. Everything is for sale, available to me. Everything is consumable. So now I'm just eating. I'm just eating. I'm just having. I don't have to do the homework. I don't have to do running. I don't have to do talking. I don't have to do thinking. I don't have to do doing. Everything is like that. What a disappointing reality of a young person who is now totally not using any of functions, bodily functions, mind functions, creativity to do something for themselves. Everything is basically outsourced. You see where I'm going with this?
Yes. There's an intrinsic value in the process.
Intrinsically, you as a young person, what is your value? What is your satisfaction going to be derived? Because what is the end game? What the child think that they will get by somebody preparing this, doing this for them and so on? Where is that self-worth going to come from? Their confidence, their improvement, where is that going to come from? You see, if Allah wanted to provide us with all of these riches and things, He could have created a system in this life where everything we are given, like in paradise, boom, comes to you, right? Just like we have in the story of Maryam, when she was devoted, when she was in private seclusion, Allah provided her with the fruits and the special food. So Zechariah would come and he said, "Where is this food coming from?" He says, "My Lord provided this for me." So he would come and she was secluded and everything was provided. Something that is very unusual, right? But you see, as soon as she goes out in the real world, as soon as she is about to give birth and she moves out from that place that does not represent the real world, as soon as she's out with a child now, pregnant, and she gives birth, Allah asks her for an action. You understand? Now, Allah tells her, shake the palm tree. It's a very simple action. Now, think of this situation. She is in seclusion. Allah provides for her. When she's healthy, no child, no danger, no nothing, Allah is providing her. And then she has a guardian. Zechariah is her guardian. Now here, when she has no one, when she is weak, when she is dependent, she can't do anything, and she's faced with this palm tree, which she cannot shake. Now she needs to do the work. You would think that doesn't make any sense. Should be opposite. Now is the when I need the help. Because who can shake the palm tree? Nobody can shake it. You understand? Here I have already somebody. I was okay then. Now, the difference here is that this is a system. This is a system of Allah. You see, before what was provided was to honor you. It was honoring that situation. Here, it's a real life. You are outside. It's how things unfold in real life. You have to do your part. Allah asks us for the action, and then He gives results. And so, what does happen when somebody enters into the life where they are under impression that I will be provided like before? They don't act. So going into life as a young person, you have to understand that life is the place of turmoil. Life is the place of fitna, trials, tests, tribulations, adversary. It's not a place of justice. It's not a place where you will be repaid in full. It's not a fair game. It's a place where you need to fight, where you need to act. Sometimes you will get what you put seed, sometimes you will not get it. It's a place of risk. But it's also a place of an action. This is the place where Allah asks us to act. Another example, when our grandfather Adam alayhi salam was in paradise, Allah provided him. But then as soon as he was leaving the garden, basically, he was told that it's not going to be easy for you. In a sense that now, for you to earn a living, you will have to work. And that's why scholars explain, even when Jibril came, he taught him how to put the wheat and, like grow the food and harvest it and prepare it and water it and everything. So it's here that as soon as you on this earth, in the normal circumstances, you have to work. Now that work is connected with achievements. It's connected with building yourself and the strength. And it is through that work that we actually derive a lot of pleasure. So when you have a young person who, whether through the wealth, achieves something, or their parents give them everything, they are totally unhappy. What you see them soon, they're looking for some extreme version, something outside where they can confirm who they are. They can get to know who they are. Because in the world where everything is given to you, you don't have to struggle. You never find yourself. You never learn about yourself. You never build yourself. So that leaves to no identity. Who am I? Everybody wants to be able to say, you know what? I trust myself. I can handle this. And so this idea, when we ask a person, or when a person says, I want to be rich, can lead to the mindset where they think everything that they will need can be purchased. It's a transaction. That the things can be very easily, if I just focus on making some money or something like that, this can be done. Where reality is, even if you start in the business, if you are just focusing, I want to be rich, okay? I want to build some startup. And this is the discussion I used to have with when I was working with the young students in one of the Islamic colleges here, and they were the high schoolers, and they say, sir, I want to be rich, how do I get rich? I said, if you only focus on I want to be rich, why would anybody give you money for that if you're starting the business? And we had a canteen next to it, and I said, look, if this lady who runs the canteen is every day bringing the food, but her only focus is I want to get rich, and she neglects making the good food, I'm not going to buy from her. I don't care she wants to get rich or not. What I care is the food good? And that's how the world is. The world is thinking, what can you do? What is the product? And so those who succeed in their life, or those who build something that lasts, are those people who solve other people's problems. It's people who develop something. And those who develop that usually themselves are developed. They have something that they can offer. And so what we see here is the classical swap between what person really should be aiming for, which is how do I become better version for myself so that I can offer something, and what is my mission so that I can achieve something. Where the richness or the security is then a byproduct. You know, just like today, if I was last night talking with some students and they were saying, you know, we are scared to apply for new job. We are not sure how it's going to go, and changing career is always difficult and so on. And so what we have focused on security as employment, rather than looking at career as employability. Employability is that you have certain core skills, something that is transferable, something that is always staying with you. So the real security, real strength is something that you are always carrying, always developing. So when child comes, of course, they cannot grasp this. They are just coming that I want something, I want to get it quickly. What they don't realize that, and as a father, we see that we want them to have wider sense of themselves, wider contributions, that they want to be developed, that they want to grow, that they want to be on, you know, they want to be in terms of the sports active, in terms of the social life active, spiritually, intellectually, academically, Islamically, in any aspect, socially, that they are developed as a full functional being. It is only then, as individuals, that they might be able to start reaching the ends that they really need to make them fully satisfied and engaged across all of their capable sides, human being in that society. And if they only focus on one side, that will be something that is so narrow, so unfulfilling, so poor, so narrow-minded, that you would feel that the life and potential is wasted, perhaps, in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think what's coming to my mind when you're speaking about this, in this material-centric world we live in, we often hear about how someone can work for 30, 40 years, and then they retire from their job, and you know, they have these plans of just sitting home or playing golf or spending their time, idling. And you hear a lot of stories about people who become depressed or die not long after the retirement. And what comes to my mind is what you were saying, is that this is the result of making the material the ends. And when you're no longer, when you've gotten to that end and the fulfillment is not there, you know, at that point your life has little meaning, and that's why you may see a lot of these people just move on or go on to the next life. So that's really what came to my mind.
So
and the person who has the idea of using it as a means rather than an end, they never really get into the mindset of retirement. If I'm retiring from my quote-unquote job, my day job, there's still a project, there's still some value that I aspire to give to the world with every day.
Yeah, that's the kind of the point I wanted to touch on is, if you look at it as in, you've taken the time, you've developed, you've learned, and then now you're in a position where you can impart some of that experience, that wisdom on the rest of the world. I think it makes you like, it's a different sense of like hunger. It's not like hunger you want to take something in, it's hunger you want to provide, you want to give back, you want to share. It's like, alhamdulillah, I've been through this, I've seen this, I've done this. Now I want to make the life easier for everyone else. I want to give people opportunities. I want to show them, the mistakes I've made and the successes, etc. And so you have so much more to give. And I think that also, not just that part, but even those failures and the struggles that you were talking about, Ustaz Colan, is that's what gives people or humans in general satisfaction in reaching the ends, is when you struggle for it. Like, you said, if I come home and I have all the chocolates I want, versus I work for it and I've been thinking about it and I'm wanting it, and then I finally go to the store and I get it, it's sweeter than ever, because I've put the effort into working for it and trying to get it. There's a very, very important value of that hard work, in that sense of being dedicated and patient and steadfast towards getting to that goal, which, to bring you back to your original question, I think is largely lost in today's society. It's more of like, okay, I'm here, I want to get to there. What is the quickest way I can get there without having to do all that hard work in the middle, which I think is not very logical, because usually that's not how it goes. There are, less than 1% that maybe they can bridge that gap and get to their goal very quickly, but 99% of the rest of the world has to go the long hard. And the second thing is, people are not used to putting in the time and effort to reach their goals. And I think that's imparted, I don't want to go on a tangent, but this imparted in everything. Like, for example, my parents' generation, they'd sit down, they'd read the newspaper, they'd watch these shows, they'd read books. Like, when they talked about something, there was a lot of substance, there's a lot of education, background, learning, time, etc. Now it's like, I got a headline, I got a sound clip, I got a sound bite, I did ChatGPT, like
you did a 30-second extra.
So we have a WhatsApp group for like khatibs and stuff, and one of the brothers came after me last khutbah and he showed me, he's like, hey, bro, what do you think of this? There's this khutbah I got from ChatGPT, and I'm like, my eyes, I'm terrified at this point. I'm like, this is what's getting to, is we're even taking shortcuts. I'll be honest, I took shortcuts. We used to do like Cliff Notes and Monarch Notes, for in high school, to try and like, I don't got time to read this 300-page book. Give me the short for the exam. I'm not saying that's right, but now we're even doing that with the deen. It's just like, just give me the highlights, like give me the bottom line. And I don't even care where the source is coming from, and I don't really want to put in the effort in. And the last thing I'll say is, I think part of that also comes back to how much value we put in the goal itself. Because if the value that we have for the goal is high, then naturally we're willing to work for it. We'll do whatever it takes. But if we don't recognize the value in it, then the amount of time and effort we're willing to sacrifice for it is much, much lower, if possibly non-existent at all.
And so what you could link that, for example, is let's link the wealth with the diet, healthy diet. Mm-hmm. And part of money is just one part of the wealth.
Yeah.
And just the diet is just one aspect of the healthy life, right? Mm-hmm. Now, if only thing that you're thinking is the food as a part of the healthy life, but you are reductionist in your worldview, where now you say, I'm gonna eliminate everything else from my life, exercise, reading, learning. I'm just gonna be reducing my life to food, and not to all different types of the foods. I'll take one most potent, more calorie intensive food, which is sugar. Okay? And all I'm gonna need, because it has all the energy in the world, I'm just gonna eat that. So out of the diversity and richness of life, you have narrowed to one dimension, and that to the one single thing. So obviously, what you thought will happen, it's not gonna end up, you're gonna be diabetes, you're going to be obese, your teeth are going to rot, your internal organ, you're going to have an opposite of what you thought. Because your body is designed to extract different things from different foods. And not just that, the food itself cannot be the whole thing in life. The movement has to be there, and so on. And this is with the life as well. Because as a human, your well-being is connected to the well-being of your community, to what you are doing, and it's a much wider picture. And this is where I think we fail to grasp sometimes, how does this all come together? And it is only later on when you start expanding your worldview, when you start valuing, what are some of the most important things in life, are things that you would not pay yourself for money, some things that money cannot buy. Peace of mind, for example, personal reputation, the relationships that you have. But then that creates also engagement when it comes to your community and what you are doing. Sometimes we underestimate the value of just working. Everybody is glorifying this passive income, or I'm going to be directing everybody, telling them what to do, or I'm a leader, I'm just be spectator. It's basically removing yourself from the center of the life. And it's almost like fear of putting your hand into the work. Whatever that work is, I don't know why such a fear of just working. Just why is it that it has to be passive income? What is wrong with actively working, solving? Is it not good enough for me? Everybody else should be actively working. I'm investing money into these companies and everybody actively work, and I'm the one should benefit from their active work and being passive, which reminds me of Khalid ibn Walid, who was a great leader, great commander, who would do such extraordinary acts of bravery and leadership. And through these sometimes enormous risk-taking, he developed himself as a great leader, whether it's through logistics or maneuvering the army, or suddenly he would go through the mountains, some pathways so dangerous which no one know how do you do it. He would surprise the people. How did you get here in a few days when it takes a month, for example? No, he says, we went through this way or that way, which no one does. And for me, that was very interesting, because in the peak of his career, when he was dismissed from his command, he became a soldier back. From the general, he became a soldier, And he said that, that whether I'm leading or as a soldier, as a commander, doesn't matter. We are here playing our part. And people like that, they equally enjoy doing their part as a soldier or as a leader. And funny thing is that circumstances bring people, when you are in the action field, if you are in the fight of life or economy, who you are eventually becomes clear in a battle. You see, this is where merits matter. This is why leadership, it's only works, the incompetence and meritless system only works when there is no real battlefield. You understand? Like, for example,
the idea falls apart.
That's right. As soon as they say a fake light only works until the Maghrib time. You understand? The fake light. You can say I'm a lamp, you like this lamp, right? You can say this is the lamp. That can be a fake story which can only be known once there is a need for that, right? Yeah. So for example, in lots of our economy, I don't want to name countries, we have so-called leadership or whatever, or economic plans or this and that, right? Whether it's run by these people or those people, whatever. And they are actually ruining the country. They are not doing anything. They are just in some name economists or producers or something like that, right? But it is not working. They're just spending and wasting, and there is no real competition. It only works, and they only keep those positions because somebody artificially keeps placing these people, and they are drained on our countries. Where if you have a competitive environment, they simply cannot afford to have incompetent people. We are being slaughtered here, economically, militarily, or whatever. So the circumstances like that do not tolerate. If you have a soccer game, you are not going to be tolerated goalkeeper who cannot defend the goal, right? You will say, well, look, this is what it is. We have to do something. And so in the jungle that is outside, the only way to solve problem is to have merit-based hierarchy that works. And that only is shown to work when it grapples with the real challenges of life. I was just before this podcast recording with two of you, last couple of hours been watching some of the videos of these B-2 bombers that went to bomb nuclear sites in Iran. And I was just watching how they made them over these decades, a stealth, payload, design, the engines that take hot, that even the air that exhausts, it's the way it's cooled down to avoid heat signature. So from the pain, from how it is designed, even the way that they detect radar system, they don't have the little wings like a normal planes. And then they show the pilots, the logistics, the maintenance, the things that goes into this. And I was thinking, like they were saying, this all started with a guy 40 years ago who had this idea, this strange design, like those birds. And it took years of developing and perfecting and, all of the rest. And then I thought, like, they say that this is the only type of airplane that can deliver that payload over that distance, can be in air for 2 days almost. And I was thinking, how would a country defend against that? How would any country in the world defend that? And then one of the guys who was talking about it, he said that there is a saying, how do you eat an elephant? He says, a piece at a time, right? You cannot eat elephant in the full go. If you want to eat or grapple with any challenge, let's say you want to develop something that will counter this threat, some country, let's say, or how did US develop this capability? It was not, they didn't give a birth to the full elephant, right? You give a birth to the little baby. And so this whole, how would we call it? This is $1 billion airplane, and it's a system and network and height of engineering. It's a result of so many different pieces: mechanical engineering, electronic engineering, IT, all kinds of human advancements in physics and so on. How it all started, it again starts with a small thing. And then over the time you keep at it, and then you get there. So why am I saying this principle? If you do not put your hand into it to start it off, that chain reaction now, you will not get result in a decade or two. Whether you're building airplane or building your career or want to change direction. If you do not put your hand into it, right? So the key here is that you give it a go. Because that idea that it will not be solved, there is nobody coming, there is no miracle that will save you, even though Allah can do it, is again, we are saying, you put your hand into it. Allah said to Maryam, put your hand into it. You understand? It's the same mindset. The idea that actually should be embedded in people is not, I want to have more means. idea should be, I want to have ends, I want to have outcomes, and I want to put my hand into it. That is what drives people then to think about and to answer your second part of the challenge, what it really means to be rich. That what then drives people to say, what does it mean to put my hand into it to achieve that outcome? Then they will say, okay, well, then I need to have this job, this experience, this profession, this skill. For that, I need to study. You know, let's say you want to be, I don't know, engineer. Okay, well, you know, guess what you are focusing on when you are 15. How's your maths now? How's your physics? How are your science subjects? How many hours are you spending right now? Do you have somebody helping you? Did you master even the ChatGPT at your age? Master it by understanding it to help you develop the skills, not to do your answers. And then you start tracking that your wealth, your potential, your power, your strength is how well I can execute, how well I master over the subject matters. So these are the people. See, this is the person at the end who wins the game. This is the person who builds something, systems. This is the people who, those people who just are about money, they will come begging them to give them piece of the pie. They will be the irrelevant ones. Those, at the end of the day, people who are just about means. They're so obsessed about means that they will have no ends. They will have nothing to accept. They will be reduced just to that sugar, just to that kick that comes from the money. Where the other person, being resourceful, he will always be able to attract the money. Look at now where the money is going. Oh, let's throw it onto NVIDIA, throw it onto this one. Oh, I need $50 billion new data center. Here is, money comes from everywhere. You just tell us what you need. NVIDIA now $3 trillion. Each of these companies now that is saying that they have some idea is now the most valuable company in the world. I don't know if I mentioned last time OpenAI deal with Johnny Ive.
No.
Johnny Ive, who used to be the marketing genius with Steve Jobs for Apple, recently signed a deal when he left Apple in 2019. He took the best marketing and creative people in the world and he started a company which is grappling at the moment what will next level of engagement of human and machines look like. So at the moment, you know, we have iPhones and so on. So this is the way we now interact to your ChatGPT or the apps or the news and so on, right? But what is the next thing after this? And so even without the product, even without any product, Johnny sold the company that has no product to OpenAI for $6 billion. Right? Now think about that.
What's the medium?
We don't know. We don't know. But what everybody is betting on is that some creative human will come up with whatever is coming next. We are not betting OpenAI that created ChatGPT is not betting that those servers, LLMs, transformers, and everything else that goes into the coding and training those artificial intelligence, they are not betting that that will show them the way. They know that artificial intelligence is just a statistical probability of whatever we already know. It's not going to be creative enough. Now, this guy could be right or wrong. That's a different story. We don't know that. But for sure, that progress will come from somebody who is thinking out of the box. ChatGPT is in the box. ChatGPT is the box. Average of that box. It cannot think more than that. It is literally a mathematical statistical probability that just calculates things. Where the human, like this,
Can think outside the box.
can create something that, if we understand, and something that has a meaning. So what will that be? I don't know. Is this device going to be, is this next thing going to be killer of this device? With these AIs, do we even need apps anymore? Will there be just one app for everything? Somehow else embedded? How is that human biology and technology going to be integrated? I don't know. You understand? But that's where we are at. It's and where do we where is the most value going to come from? From the human. Everybody knows that. Everybody valuing these companies and products and services based on the human capacity to critically, analytically, creatively think what's coming forward. Because, as one of my friends was telling me, he said, what will kill AI is ease by which we will start now creating things. With few prompts, you will create a movie, an app, and story, and something. But no one will have the empathy for that any longer because it's so easy to create these kinds of things. We will instinctively, by gut feeling, start recognizing the fluff. And when you hear the story written by AI or created in the AI studio, you will not empathize with the sadness of its story. You will say, well, this is just a cheap, somebody said few prompt. Write me a story where something happened and he fall in love or she fall in love or he dies, she dies, some tragic. I don't care. It's not going to move me. It's a 3-sentence prompt that created something, and even if it is visually stunning and whatever, no empathy, no connection. I don't care about it. It's going to saturate. But what's going to be valuable then is somebody who is excellent, who taps into that human, back into that human. And so that is the person who will win the day, who will lead, who will really, if they are resourceful and they can develop their own sense of thinking and confidence to think, to lead, they will be very valuable. That's going to be the most valuable commodity, the most scarce, because everybody else will be going towards the consumerism, everything at your fingerprints, everything is outsourced to somebody to think, to reason, to come with the ways, shortcuts.
What you were saying reminds me of a quote that Sheikh Sajid in one of his talks, when he's talking about like literally the fiqh of Islamic finance, he mentioned something and he said, don't go chasing after money, build value, and then money follows. And it's exactly what you're saying, is the people see and recognize the value in these companies, in these ingenious people behind them. And whenever they have an idea, which typically people put a lot of value in because of their track record, money's there, it's available, it's ready. And so if we're able to provide value in terms of like service, education, whatever it be, then naturally the money should flock afterwards. But if we're chasing money in and of itself, like you said, if I know someone's out just to get money and that's it, maybe they don't have values or the product itself doesn't provide an actual value in and of itself, then I'm going to be a lot more hesitant in that respect to support it or provide money to it, etc.
Ustaz, on the topic of thinking outside the box, and maybe this is a little bit of a pivot here, and me and Ramy have talked about this before, but it's unfortunate that for many Muslims, we're not able to conceptualize a world where we're not operating within the conventional monetary system. Like, Muslims will nowadays consider that the ribawi system is just part and parcel of transactions, and that there's something about working within it because it's what's available to us versus working in it but aspiring towards creating something that is different. Is it, in your opinion, is it something that not only can we conceptualize but move towards in a practical way to have a system that does not rely on riba? Is it possible for us to even think of a paradigm where this is not akin to what we have now?
It's very abstract, high level kind of thoughts. What do you imagine that question is actually asking in your mind? Like, let's say if we bring it a little bit down, what specifically do you see as essence of that question?
The question is, can we think outside the box and create a system that doesn't have riba at its foundation, like the monetary system that we have today?
But I think I don't know if this is answering Ustaz Colan's question, but like I think the question is it's founded upon an assumption, and some of that assumption is, and I know this is not your perspective, but like this is the common thing that we hear from people, is that assumption is that things have been like this forever.
Correct.
That it's always been like this, and I don't think that's an accurate. Not even reading it. That's an accurate knowledge of history in and of itself. Yes, riba has been around for a very, very long time. You know, it's been described in Torah and the Injil. Even in the Bible, it talks about Jesus, and you know, I forget who he kicked them out because they were involving in riba loans, etc. But like, there has been a healthy non-ribawi system for centuries as well, and I think the most, you know, the crux, the most important thing to understand is, because it existed before, that is proof that it can exist again. You see what I'm saying? It's not like it's always been like this, and then we're trying to change it from the ground up. That's my first thing, and the other thing is, I don't know if this might answer your question, is, if that's the problem, the bigger question is, so how do we, what are we trying to avoid, and how do we get out it? Like, what's the need assessment? What do we need to do? What do we need to achieve? Like Ustaz Colan was saying last episode, what are those squares on the chessboard that we need to control so that we can actually affect a change? I'm not even at the point where it's going to be a global change at this point. At least we can control the finances and the economics and the transactions within our community. What are those things that we need to control? What's the need assessment we need to do? You know, he was mentioning in terms of you start realizing what the problem is. You know, you and I were having this offline chat about like trying to bring together the community and unify and work together towards common goal for many of the problems. What's the number one thing we need to do other than just general unity? Is we need to have a good need assessment. Is what are the problems, and then how can we resolve these issues? Because at that point, then we can start strategizing and people getting the right education and experience, etc., along with investments and cooperation to start fixing these problems. But if you don't recognize what the problem is and you start trying to control those building blocks, then a lot of the times I think we might find that our efforts are in vain, because we're just throwing sand at the wind. You know, it's just scattering. I don't know, that's my thought. So
this is a very a deep question. I think sometimes it's worth just a little bit reflecting on what is it that is at the core of what we think is the problem here, or how did we arrive to this, or what would the solution look like. And so I'll offer maybe just some points of discussion just to see how we maybe perhaps should think about it. Of course, it's possible that you have any system that you want. If enough people want to have specific system, the question is, why would you avoid one and favor the other system? That's the question. And so if I go into simple analysis here, let's say we had this imaginary young man who said, I want to be rich at the beginning, right? And now we just described that in that imaginary world of this young man, rich is just end in itself. And he is not thinking about anything else in the world, just me and that money. How do I get to that? So for him, the easiest way is to be a banker. He does not have to deal literally with anything. He is literally dealing in money. He is buying and selling money and getting rich on the way. That is the commodity. That's what I want. That's what I trade in. That's how I get money. I do not have to deal with anything. I do not have to deal with the real fruits of this world and where the people are. Is there a war? Is there a nuclear disaster? Did your field give you fruits? I don't care about it, right? And so the riba mentality is one that is disconnected from the world. It is a sucking, it's like a leech, it's like a parasite that sits on the host body that is leeching that. So these are the people who just want money. And they do not care about you. They do not care about host body. They live for themselves. They drink other people blood and sweat and tears and everything in terms of the profit. They specialize in at next level they become capitalists who extract time and effort and everything so precisely that they leave you dry and empty. And they create structures, superstructures, where they have these monopolies, where they correlate the government's decisions, legislations, favoritism, everything is on system level, is designed to favor them, to give them advantage over you.
Are you defining the IMF right now in the World Bank, or?
Well, it's bigger than all of these, all of these organizations. They are just serving in this game, of the self-interest. In reality, you don't need IMF. You just have people who are self-centered, self-interested. They are chasing this. They accumulate enormous amount of power. They find each other, and this is extractive and destructive economic system that extract from us, from environment, doesn't care about anybody else. So if we are talking that riba is the tool of extraction, like for example, if you look in Australia, 30% of economy comes from financial services. That's a non-productive sector that takes most of our profits. So, we have about 26, I don't know how many million people now, less than 30 million. However, our banks, just 4 banks make 30-40 billion a year from just tiny percent of us. Think about, we are like less than 10% of America. And our banks are so profitable. They are one of the most profitable banks in the world. That cannot be normal. That our value is more geared rewarding bankers, people who are non-productive, than the people who are actually working. He's just the labor. He's just the baker. He's just the teacher. But I have a passive investment with this bank and they know how to do this and that. You understand? So this all plays into this kind of a mindset that being active, being productive, what is it that you want to focus on? So if we want a different life, we have to change how actively we are involved. But I don't mean just active in a sense of us I often talk about being on supply side, right? We have to be producers, we have to be involved in that, produce what we consume and so on. But there is another dimension that I usually don't talk about because we are not there yet, so there is no really the point, you know. And that aspect is detaching yourself from overly consuming things that you don't need to do it. Not being in need of so many things. There is no point if this capitalist system produce 1 million different products that we consume. You go to your supermarket, there is 1 trillion products there. Cereal, 500 different cereals. Chocolate, 1 million chocolates. Candy bars, 1 million candy bars. Yogurts, oh my God, right? And we say, okay, well, let's produce each one of those, but Islamic halal, and it has our brand names, right? The question should be asked, do we need that? Like, as a human, as a society, they did a study, a person, the wealthy person buying stuff on outside of home versus home where food is cooked, who eats better? And they found that person who cooks, even if they are low income family and they cook at home, they eat usually better food. Because at least you put potato, apple, you put onion and garlic and, whatever. You take a piece of meat, you cook it. It's a real thing still. Where somebody is eating outside, even if they are rich, it's totally different in terms of processing and everything. But this whole idea of, do we just focus on consuming more and more or the same? Or is there a point in time when we start saying, you know what, I need to start thinking that I'm free of all of these things, that I simply do not need this on individual or society level. So that my consumption, my consumer behavior start changing. We cannot just compete in overproducing mass production of everything. I don't think that if we are racing with capitalist system, system with no values, that we will win. We will just create another consumer-based system where consumption is the king. I think if we go back to our example, if all we are saying capitalism produce sugar and candy bars, let us make halal candy bars with no gelatin, and that's the game we are trying to win, then I guess, yes, sure, we will have sugar candies that we produce, but is that good for us? Where is the recreation? Where is the spiritual? Where is the other learning knowledge? Where is the striving for? Where are the other things? Where is the restraint? And so I think balancing just consumption-based life, where it is a work and consumption with, we used to live with the families. Now it's very strange, to see family with 10 kids, for example. How does that work now? My grandparents had 10 kids, for example. All right, now, how many kids do we have now? How often do we see them during the week? Why we are all scattered? Why we are not seeing each other? Because this also takes time. I was just with my daughter. She gave a birth, and it was me and my other daughter and her and the new child, and we were preparing some food. So I brought I don't know what I brought, some sort of I forgot. It was some vegetables, and I wanted to make an eggs, with omelette and some cheese and stuff, like just something that I like to make. Put olive oil, put everything nice. And as we were making this, and then cleaning after it and talking and then fixing everything, isn't it interesting that we have made the entire process working collaboratively here, where nobody was strained with preparing this and then cleaning after everybody. Like, we were all engaged in this, and it didn't feel like a chore, like a burden, and it was, all of that was continuation of fun. We were all doing this together, you know. So this kind of preparing your food together, eating your food together, then having dessert together, just relaxing, and then doing something after that, and then there is a young baby, a newborn baby. There is, you know, I felt like this is what a person should value, these kinds of moments. Like, are we going to take out these kinds and other kinds of moments? You know, that you don't have a friend, that you don't work on something that you believe in, that you are passionate, that you don't volunteer in your community. You know, simply volunteering in your mosque, simply helping somebody, doing something with your own hands. All of these things, I think, for us to move from the riba-based system, I think it's not just about imagining the new monetary rules and so on. It's fundamentally redesigning the life, you know, where how you live is different. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but I think the architecture needs to start. What you value, what you fight for. You understand? How you then finance, why you believe in what you believe. I don't know, does that begin to sort of, I don't know, play into some of the questions maybe that surround this difficult and complex topic?
No, of course, I got from you that it's about the spirit of what it is behind this system that we would, you know, conceptualize, and that building the foundation requires a whole change in mentality and the philosophy with approaching it.
I think it goes back to like last episode when we talked about this is
it's not just stamping it with
Islam, it's not about the it's not to belittle the fiqhi aspects, but the individual fiqhi rules are not what make, in this case we're talking about, like, you know, Islamic finance or economics, but that's not the thing. There's an overarching mindset and viewpoint and perspective that Islam comes to do. You know, like, I'm just going to digress real quick. You know, the Rasul is related to economics. He asked the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, he says, "Atadruna mal muflis?" Do you know who the bankrupt one is? And it's obvious. Everyone's thinking like, oh, the person doesn't have enough finances for them today to cover their expenses. But when he tells them, no, you know, the bankrupt person, the one who comes with all these hasanat, you know, salah, siyam, hajj, etc., but he came in, he said bad things to this person, backbite this person, hurt this person, dishonor this one, shed the blood of this one, etc. And then, you know, continuing the hadith. But the point is so many hadith, so many things in Islam, they come to redefine how we look at things, to reset our lens, our perspective on what we see, not just in terms of like how we see things, but even how we value things. I couldn't help but think about what you mentioned, that a lot of them, I don't know if it'll happen, but I'll try. But, you know, I have family in Egypt till today, where like the parents were on the top floor, and then each floor below was one of their children. And every single day, dinner time, they all came together and they had dinner together. Mm-hmm. And I have a problem saying that that's a beautiful thing. I don't think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's like, that should be like status quo. Like, that's kind of like, you have it. And I've talked to my son about this before, and this is what I'm saying in Europe. Hopefully it works. I have two sons, and I'm trying to impart on him that you and your brother are inseparable. Like, I'm not getting to the point where I'm telling him this like flat out, but my mindset is, I don't want you guys to grow up and be like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to go to this school, you're going to go to this school, I'm going to live in this city, you're going to live in this city. You guys are the home team. You know, you're together, you're building a foundation. Everything you can do together is going to strengthen you. And I think if we have that mentality as a close-knit family, the nuclear family, how important it is to maintain that strong, close-knit family, I think that naturally would project itself onto how we see our relationship with other people in general. If we have that because what is the opposite of the nuclear family? What is the result of it? It's individualism, right? I'm leaving because I want to do this, because I want to follow this, because I want to grow this, I want to do this. Versus it's like, hey, listen, yeah, I can go to this school, I can have this job, I can have this house, I can whatever, I can do things even better maybe on my own. But if I take a little sacrifice and I stay close to home, and all of my brothers, all of my sisters, my parents were all together, then guess what? I think as a whole, we can accomplish more, or we can take care of each other better. I think it's just that it is a paradigm shift. It's a different perspective in understanding that we are all here together to support one another. And it's so much easier to be like, hey, we're Muslim brothers in Islam. We should be looking out for each other. We should be working together to uplift the community. If we had those intrinsic family values in it of itself, I think it's a bigger hurdle to cross. If we don't have those, and then you start telling people, love your brother. Like, man, I don't even love my parents. I don't even see my parents. I don't talk to my parents. Why am I going to talk to this stranger? Yeah.
Can I just pause you for a second just to reflect a little bit what you just said?
Please.
So what you just said, think about it. I don't know if you are making this connection in what you just said. So think about, first you started, who is a bankrupt? Okay? Somebody who your family dynamics is back in Egypt, and how you would hope your children and your family stays connected, right?
Sure.
What is the connection between these two things that you just said? Can you see any connection?
1 second. So you're saying the connection between these vices and doing bad deeds, etc., and then, or what?
No, these things, you said, who is the bankrupt?
Yeah.
The companion said the one who doesn't have money and
Yeah.
But Prophet said, no, it's such and such person who is doing these things and, slanders and stuff. And then you talk about family unit as something that we're losing the sight importance of, should be the hallmark of Islamic way of life, whether it's knowing your neighbors, your community, family, staying together, meeting together, living together. Yeah. What do you see as a connection here?
I'm going to guess. I don't know if this is where you're going forward, but is it the, this, I don't know the right word for it, but like kind of like the social pressure or the societal upbringing of the family and the individuals? Like
one builds it, one destroys it.
Huh?
One builds it, one destroys it.
Yeah, like in back home, like I make this joke a lot of times, not joke, but like, I explain like with my coworkers here in America, and I'm like, back home, you did something wrong at school, your teacher hit you, and then he took you home, but your parents weren't home, so they dropped you off the neighbor, and he hit you, and then your grandmother came home, and she hit you, and then finally your parents came home, your mom hit you, and she's like, you just wait till Baba comes, like. It took the whole village. Or, for example, if you stole something, the shopkeeper is going to hit you. The guy taking you to your parents is going to hit you. The teacher's going to see is going to... Like, along the way, the whole society is trying to rectify and fix the norms, the social norms, and uphold them. Versus here, it's like... this, and again, this is literally the example I say. It's like, you go to the supermarket, whatever, and you see a kid acting out. And let's say he's doing something wrong, or he's stealing, or whatever it is. And you... dare to say something to that child, or God forbid, crazy, you spank him or something. Don't you do that to my child? Oh, I'm gonna sue you. How dare you touch? I'm doing you a favor. Like, I'm helping you with your child. I'm helping upright your child when you weren't there, right? I care for that child. What I'm doing, what you see as negative, is actually positive, because I actually want to rectify the situation and provide your child with negative feedback for their behavior. But people look at it as like, this is me, I do what I want, I do what I please, no one tells me what to do, what's right is the way I see it, whatever. So is that where you're getting at?
So, there is a lot of points that you mentioned in the last point. Just going from the last moment that you said, of course, we live in society now that would not allow anybody to interfere how they raise the children, Because one thing is because we don't have normally connections with those other people. We don't trust their judgment. We don't know what they are on about. And so because of that disconnect, we do not want to outsource to them. Now, when you think about what you were saying, where I was going with this is that what would be then the rich person on the day of judgment? We said, who is the bankrupt? Okay, who is the rich one?
The one who has a positive social interaction with his community. He commends people, he helps people, he visits the sick, he supports people financially, he has good relations with his neighbor. He's a community person. He has a good, strong family unit and someone who does khair and receives khair from his community.
And so you see the value here is placed on the collective, right? And why the slander and gossip is linked to the destruction of the wealth and bankruptcy and such a huge sin. One of the things is that it erodes this joint living, communal living, right? It's a poisoning what should bring us together. And because Islam valued this aspect, it puts the hierarchies to protect it. You know, the leader is the shepherd. You are the shepherd in your family. The wife is a shepherd in the home of the husband, and so on. You know, respecting authority of leaders, respecting authority of the mother, respecting authority of the father, of the elderly, respecting authority of the neighbor who is close to you versus who is far away from you. Everything is structured. Everything is precise in order to honor connections, in order to honor different hierarchies, and to honor certain networks that we have, in order to create the rules, to propagate this, to grow it, invest, to make it a source of our strength. And anything that goes against this is then excluded, hated on, whether it's a gossip or a cheating in a business transaction. That's why what is the Prophet ﷺ says to the person that is found to be deceiving at the market. He says, whoever cheats us, whoever deceives us, is not from us. You are not part of this group of people. Because this group of people stand with each other, does not cheat. There is a code of behavior, does not backbite, does not. That's why it's called eating the flesh of your brother. So if the one who neglects all of this move away, backbiting means you're moving away. You're isolationist. And so as you move away from it, of course you're going to be bankrupt in this and the next life. Because you know, even the family is something that is familiar. It's something that you know, where you feel safe, where you feel protected. You know, when we talk about ummah, it's just extended family. And when you talk about, you know, if somebody does something wrong, then the neighbor and the auntie and the uncle and the grandfather and anybody enforce the group belief. And whether it's by nice talk, by shaming, by whatever, they make you come to your sense that there is some mannerism of behaving. You cannot just disregard other people in your behavior. Even the small things, forget the backbiting and other things, even the small things. You cannot come in front of your teacher and you put your legs on the chair. Like in the school now. They are in the university, they put their legs on the chair. We are not, there is a teacher, there is a father, there is different things. Now, nobody even registered these things, let alone gender norms, clothing norms, who should behave like this, who should behave. Everything used to be there. But we are so uncivilized now that we have only, again, focused on very small aspects of life. And we are measuring everything again through the number behind the wealth, who has more likes. It's usually these number games.
Material things.
All the social norms, all the adab, everything else, all the connections, everything is in the bin. The only thing that matters is some sort of a superficial counters that are telling us something supposedly about how happy or connected or actualized we are as a people. Okay?
SubhanAllah. Before I forget, Mabruk, by the way, on your granddaughter, son.
Yeah, granddaughter, okay. Yes.
MashaAllah, Mabruk. SubhanAllah, you know, we talked about, like, when Omar and I were talking about this podcast in the beginning, this is exactly, I'm not going to say like this exact conversation, but this is exactly the type of thing that I was hoping. I didn't know like the specifics, but this is what I think is so important and so unique in this, is because there's so much more and so much more depth when it comes to something like Islamic finance, as we say, or economics, than just rules and regulations and this is halal and this is haram. SubhanAllah, that Islam is a complete system, and you can't like extract, I'm just going to follow this part and this and do this and that. It's a whole system that supports itself in so many different ways and aspects, and when you allow for the breakdown of one, it inevitably impacts something else. SubhanAllah, like I remember you've mentioned this before. When you are in a ribawi situation with someone and you just like basically rob them blind for all of their efforts, they did all the work, wherever all you did, you took the benefit because it's all riba and it's one-sided. How are you going to have that positive community relationship? How are you going to build bridges? How are you going to have that positive relationship? You know, you're talking about the backbiting, or the same thing, like across the board. There's so much to be said in terms of how Islam, and someone mentioned this to me, like I was at the Isra Masjid, or sorry, the Grand Highway, and I can't even remember what I talked about, but the brother came after me afterwards and he said something, and it's like just refocusing. He said, you know, I love this, the khutbah was great, etc. But you know, one thing that people lose sight about is Islam isn't about like halal, haram, do, don't do. The essence, the focus, after obviously Tawheed, is the adab, the akhlaq, the your muamalat, how you deal with people. What is your personality? What are the values and your ethics and your morals? And the Rasul says, you know, I have been sent unto you to perfect the best of mannerisms. And so I think it's amazing to look at riba not as a transactional based thing, not as a halal, haram, or fiqhi thing, but actually an adab thing. This is something where if you realize the importance that Islam is a communal religion, it's not an individualistic type of system of government, or you know, it's not like a communist or socialist or unbridled capitalism. It is a communal religion that focuses on the benefit of the community. Then anything that harms the community, even if it's your quote individual right, would be secondary to the rights of the community. And because of that, that's one of the ibarah, the wisdom. Riba is a huge source of enmity and discord in the community, and it is bad adab to take advantage of your brother, whether it's in need or not. You know, because some people say, "Oh, I can afford it." No, it is a bad relationship. It eats away at the fiber of the unity of society. SubhanAllah. And that just came to my mind when you were saying this.
Absolutely. Integration of adab and fiqh in the transactions, it's what it is about. It's connecting those means and ends through how we do business, which is why to profit in that communal environment, you only profit by providing counter value, something that will benefit other party, where both of you come to the other end and both of you benefit. You know, I'm departing my money and you getting something, and both feel this is a pretty good deal. Where in the capitalist environment, unless the other part is crying,
you're saying something that's completely foreign. Yeah, no one understands that. It's like I win, you lose.
That's right. That is now taught in the business school as a shrewd business, as a smart businessman, as the nice guy finish last mentality. I need to make the other person cry, because that means, if they are not crying, I didn't take enough.
Zero sum
deal.
Like a zero sum
transaction. A better deal.
Yeah.
That's right.
To go back to what we were talking about earlier too, I think the nature of riba is that it exacerbates this inability to be satiated. The nature of the riba is that it's always artificially growing, and to feed it, it needs to extract more from everybody who it touches and affects. And it's not just the debtor who it touches and affects, it's inevitably going to trickle down to all of society, whether or not you are also borrowing and taking money and being subject to riba. As we know, the Prophet ﷺ said that there will be a time where everyone will be touched by it. So,
but riba in itself cannot do that by itself. Cannot do that without some form of trickery, some form of falsehood, some situation where to continue to dominate, it has to be fed from somewhere. It has to keep growing. It's like an air in your economy. Inflating and growing and money giving birth, it has to come from other synthetic transactions. So if you now look at our economy, where there is so much debt, so much money is moving around, we take all kinds of financial instruments, we package them, repackage them, insure them, and then sell them off, and so on, So all of these derivatives and financial instruments now, they are not based on anything that is any more real. And so to keep producing and keep returning the profit, there is so many asset classes linked to the riba that we simply don't have enough earth and economy, real economy, to return the profit that this extractive riba system demands. And so what this incentivizes is creation of more synthetic products. Because if I'm asking you now, our riba system is 20 times bigger than the entire earth, then I say I need to get 10%. Or think about America now. What is now America debt? How many
36 trillion?
I think yesterday it hit 37 trillion. Yesterday or a couple of days ago.
So think about that. 37 trillion, and interest on that is, $1 trillion, let's say. $1 trillion. You already have deficit that you are running, meaning United States cannot cover the current costs of Social Security, Medicare, or how you call it, healthcare and stuff, right? So already you cannot cover these things. I was reading somewhere in Australia, Ozempic cost $100. In US, it's $1,000. Diabetes drug, for example. The most of the drugs are so expensive that Trump wants to impose on Australia tariffs because our pharmaceutical schemes keeps the prices low, and then Americans cannot compete in our market. He wants our price to be, 5, 10, 20 times more. So no one can afford it. And when they can afford them, the government, because of the monopoly of pharmaceuticals, has to pay enormous amounts of money. Something that costs in every country to produce for 10 cents in America is going to be $100, just because they can and because the government will pay, or whatever is the rigged system there. In any case, you now have a deficit. Forget the new wars and the bombing and paying for that, but you have this deficit, and on top of the deficit, you need to pay $1 trillion as just the interest, forget paying it off, just to service the debt.
Yeah.
So debt is growing by trillions. Your deficit is growing. And the lifestyle that you are indulging is also unsustainable. So just if you look at that one country, how does this work? Like in 20 years, by 2050, how much, America's debt is going to be 50, 60, 100 trillion? What do we need to do? We need to create more money. We need to create more debt instruments. We need to sell this debt. Hopefully Chinese will still continue buying it. So for this fictional thing, unsustainable thing, whether it's a riba or you talked about monetary system, can it be with riba? The question is how it is sustainable, this level of interest and debt and what is going on. And so this is where for the riba system to continue, the lie and deception need to continue. The lie and the engagement, and this pushes the entire economy towards producing the products and services that are also synthetic and they don't benefit anybody. Because to compete, economy now need to switch from the real economy, it needs to switch to artificial to keep up with the riba-based system. Because riba-based system require a quantity to keep itself growing. It does not care about quality of your food, medication, lifestyle, things that you are producing for humans. The riba system, and that's why that mentality, I just want to be rich, right? So just the quantity is important, right? That mentality connected with the riba-based system is obsessed with creating quantity, extracting quantity, and seeing numeric growth. Mm-hmm. Now, what you end up with is a product that in quantity look great. I think in US you don't have any more normal size cups of 200 milliliters. This used to be normal cups, so everything is like 10 liters.
I think our water bottles are.
Have you ever seen
yours,
like
right?
the 64 ounce jugs?
There is, there is nothing more normal size. Coffee is a canister. Just there is no coffee there. There's nothing real there. So everything is just you servicing the riba-based economy that is obsessed with quantity and quantity and quantity, where the wholesomeness of what you're consuming is zero. It's reducing. Mm-hmm. And so the problem with a riba-based system is that it incentivizes in the rest of your life, in the rest of what you're consuming, the same problem. It will rob you of the quality. It will give you the quantity. It will give you the sugar with the calorie, if that's what you want to measure your diet with. It's a lot of calories. Just like this drink, I was watching and this is example of when the people with no moral and ethics enter into business, where it goes, one of these prime drinks, is it Logan Paul or some of these influencers made prime drink, right? The sports drink that now UFC, I think, sign up to. And somebody made a video. You don't know the prime drink?
I know Logan Paul is that boxer guy.
Logan,
right?
I mix, is it Logan or Jake Paul? I don't know which one is which.
I know one of them did a drink. I don't know what it's called.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this is a scammer and very, very questionable human being, and I remember when that started being a thing, a lot of kids were buying. And I said to my son, I hope we never buy this, because if you ever see me buy this kind of a drink, it has to be here written the idiot, like that would have to be a lowest anybody with a self-respect will never go for a drink by some of these scammers. And then a few weeks after that, we were watching one of the video on YouTube where the guy did analysis of this so-called energy drink. And so on that bottle, they have advertised that this energy drink has got the most electrolytes than any other, like Gatorade and other drinks, right? So this guy broke down, did analysis. And now I forgot what the electrolytes are called, but apparently I think there are two types of electrolytes. One readily available, easy to get it, and your body doesn't need much of it, right? And then there is a one that it's more expensive to make it and get it, and through your recovery, your body needs it. Let's say just arbitrarily.
I'm guessing something like amino acids, essential and non-essential. Or something.
I have no idea. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Some kind of electrolytes.
Yeah.
It's ingredients in that. Maybe I'm saying the wrong word, but let's say ratios. Let's say ratio of these things inside of these drinks is 80-20, for example. You need 80% of A and 20% of B. Now, the A is very expensive, B is cheap, right? But altogether they have a same name of 100%. This is how much you need. So what do you think is in this drink?
All of the 20%. All the 20% cheap stuff.
It's reverse.
Yeah.
Cheap stuff is 80%.
Yeah.
And more, 200%. And then they put this one, right? And then they say, well, look, we are 200% of these electrolytes. Yes, the ones that I don't need. You understand?
Yeah.
So they find these people like this. This is the example of how capitalism today, the riba-based system, the lazy, I want to get just rich, I want to just the quantity. This is where it leads to. They will con you as a consumer. They will make the marketing look beautiful, healthy, and all of the rest. The packaging will be great.
Amazing.
There will be more people working on the marketing and selling than on the cooking the product that is good for you or making it. You understand? You could as well put a sewage water and drink it. It will be healthier probably, less toxic, less synthetic stuff. You understand? So this is the problem, that when you see people with no value, as the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever cheats us, whoever deceives us is not from us. So these are the people. They are not from us. They are from no one. They don't care about anybody. They are just lying and deceiving that they care through their marketing, through their influence, through their tweets, through their things. They will throw the tweet, sell you anything. They don't care. And this is where that system leads. That you will not have wholesome product. You will not have proper things. You will have a product that look real, they are not real. You will think that they are working for you, they are there for you. They don't care about you because they are disconnected. They don't know you. They can easily just turn around and we are also just short span. We are not aware of the things. You understand? We are not connected. We don't have the benefit. You know, the other day I was talking about we are connecting machines to create a data center. And we call this artificial intelligence. But we as a community should have community intelligence, human intelligence that is connected, that is working, that is connected. You understand? This is what powers. This is what powers on the higher level, because you notice something, I notice something, then I talk to you, I hear, you hear, you hear, you hear. Everybody benefits from each other. Now that level of human intelligence that work cooperatively is much beyond anything machines created by NVIDIA can produce. You are much more alert from the danger, from the what's unethical, what's right, what's wrong, calm you down, bring you up. You understand? So this is the power. Now, when you have that intelligence working to protect itself from these scammers, you know, whether what you do, what you learn, so that intelligence that cares, that doesn't allow foreign interference, evil things, you know, whether it's from the human or from jinn or from whatever other shayateen in between, this is the system that then does not care about, they are not just economic actor. They operate at a higher level of integrity. You cannot purchase them with money. That guy who is thinking, I want to have money and I want to be rich, he cannot get the entry ticket into that. You're not deserving of the spot here. Your money is not worth. There is more important things than money. You need to earn your place with your action, with your belief, with your principles, with how you treat others. You understand? That is the dangerous system. When you have that system working on a problem solution, that is very dangerous system. Because those who learn to corrupt, to buy, to play cheap games, they don't know how to deal with this. Now, when that system is pointed to any problem, just like any company that is solely focused on solving the real problem, that's where you can be putting all of your eggs in that basket. You know that you are positioning directionally to the something that is the most strongest rope, most strongest foundation that can be. I think we as a Muslim community should build those kind of foundation, where what we value, what we are doing, producing, is something that is so trusted, so needed, so human-centric, God-centric, that when somebody says, these are Muslims who have produced this is halal, that person thinks beyond every other human other measurement, that this is a product that you trust, that you can blindly trust. This is, I think, where Muslims should be stepping in those spaces: excellence, leadership, working together. And I think in the world that is now divided, scared, bipolar world, I think a lot of people are looking for something like that. They want to see the world where they are not just between bowing down to one superpower or another superpower, or being this type of economy, or that who will exploit me less, but who will take me as a partner, who I can rely on, who when they promise they will not break the promise, who will not negotiate by saying, oh, I will do this, and then they do underbelly, they hit under the belt. It's a different kind of world. I think we ought to be thinking how we are preparing ourselves for.
Jazakallah khair, Ustaz Almir. Another thought-provoking conversation. Barakallah feek. So, Dr. Ustaz Almir, we want to be cognizant of your time, respectful of it, and thanks again for being here with us. And inshallah, we'd love to keep having you and to have more of these conversations in the future.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your call, inshallah. Looking forward to it.
We love it, mashallah. It's chipping away, like in deeper and deeper, mashallah, at the problems, the issues, the goals, from so many different angles, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah. And just to close out, Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'ana wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana wa zidna 'ilma wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilu s-salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Inshallah, we'll be back next time with the new episode. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.